A blind person might actually be able to stop SCP-173. But how? Well, let's see what happens when the statue meets somebody who can't see. It might sound strange, but somebody who's completely blind and on their own might have more avenues of tracking 173 than somebody who's sighted and on their own. This is specifically because they will have 3 different ways of gathering information. First is the blind person themselves. Of course, SCP-173 has to be seen in order for it to go still. So this begs the question, how would somebody who can't see stop it? Well, 2 words. Light perception. Someone might be completely blind, seeing a bunch of pitch black, but some of them can actually see light. This means in theory, if they're in a very bright room, they could possibly see the shape of SCP-173, which technically could stop it. The second method is their phone. They can call a volunteer who is sighted through Be My Eyes. Now, this assumes they have a working internet connection and that there isn't too much of a delay. But it is a method of tracking it. Not only that, but it makes it easier for them to use their cane to find a way out without needing to break eye contact with 173. The third method is a guide dog. The dog is likely to pick up on 173 being a threat, and thus its attention is going to be heavily fixated on it. Now, the dog is going to definitely be blinking, which makes this method rather unpredictable, but helpful nonetheless. Not only that, but if they can keep the camera on 173, they can use the dog to quickly find an exit while having their sighted volunteer keep an eye on the statue. Now, there is one last tool that is a major game changer for them. The Meta Ray-Ban AI glasses. Just like the phone, the Meta AI glasses can actually connect to Be My Eyes, thus meaning a sighted volunteer can see through the cameras on the glasses. This means they will have one free hand to start searching around. This also means they could potentially find a surface suitable enough to actually put the glasses on, that way it's directly focused on 173 as if it was a regular camera. However, this strategy comes at a massive risk. Yes, you still have the delay with the camera and the sighted volunteer needing to be able to see and comprehend what they're looking at. But if they're not wearing the glasses, they cannot hear the volunteer and thus will not know when the volunteer needs to blink. So while it comes at a high reward of possibly being able to search faster for an exit, whether it is using their cane or the guide dog, it comes at a high risk that it is much more likely for them to, well, have their neck snapped. A legally blind individual is definitely going to have some of the same troubles, but they'll have an easier time. They don't just have to rely on light perception or the guide dog or a sighted volunteer, since their vision is primarily very blurry. Yes, this does mean 173 will be blending in with the background, making it very difficult to track and possible that they could lose sight of it, but they can still see its shape, especially with high contrast. One massive downside is possibly having their field of view cut very short, as some legally blind individuals will have parts of their vision that are pitch black, which, if they don't have light perception in those areas, that means that is a literal blind spot that gives 173 another advantage to catch them off guard. However, despite this, they will have an easier time using the camera through the Meta Ray-Bans or through the telephone with a sighted volunteer. That, and of course, still being very likely to have a guide dog. They also will have a much easier time figuring out where an exit is, as it is still possible for somebody who is legally blind to find a door without needing a cane, though still very difficult and very time consuming. One other thing to note is that when they're using their phone, someone who is legally blind is more likely to instinctively look down at their phone in an attempt to use their vision, compared to somebody who is completely blind who just uses voiceover to listen to whatever apps they're on. Someone of low vision is in the most danger because they are least likely to have a guide dog or even have Be My Eyes installed. What this means is they are on their own with a visual impairment. Even if it's somebody who has crystal clear vision on the parts they can see, trying to keep an eye on 173 when your field of view is very, very small can be exponentially difficult to not accidentally look away. This means they have to rely on pinpoint accuracy to ensure that they are not getting their neck snapped. However, they're lucky in the fact that they cannot be distracted by anything in that outer edge of their field of view. Anything moving in their peripheral, they wouldn't react to it, meaning that it is highly unlikely for them to accidentally look away or blink in surprise. Overall, this is what could happen if a blind person were to encounter SCP-173. Would they survive? Would they not? You tell me. As usual, if you would like to see another scenario, please let me know in the comments. I also write original creepypastas here on this channel for those of you who like storytelling.